Hello, and welcome to another Tiny Tip Tuesday. This is Brock with Butterscotch Biscuit. One of the most common questions we get is where you get your fur. Usually, somebody wants to know where we got a particular color from, um, and usually they don't get an answer from us, honestly, or at least not the answer that they're looking for. The biggest reason for that is honestly we're not great at keeping track of where we get particular colors. We're going to work on that a little bit, but suffice it to say, a lot of it also has to do with the fact that providers or sellers change for us, or we get things from individuals and it's a one off purchase, or any number of things really. Like, we don't get our fur from one particular source. So, some of them are lucky finds, some of them we buy from individuals or friends. Some of them we find from somebody on Etsy. Like, there's so many places you can get fur. So even if I tell you, like, hey, I got this really snazzy, turquoise here from, supercoolfurstore.com, the fact that the chances of them necessarily even having it or having the same dye lot or, calling it the same thing that they called it 2 months ago when I got it is actually pretty small. So what I would like to do instead is give you guys a good idea of how to find furs that you're looking for, because it can be a little daunting, and it can take some time and it can be really frustrating, and sometimes you just have to wait until somebody decides, hey, you know what, that color that we ran 5 years ago, let's do that again, because some furs are discontinued or just disappear or whatever. So I've got some notes here, so you'll see me look down. So forgive me for that. We're super professional here with our little cell phone cameras and Etsy posting or Instagram postings. I know what I'm talking about. Words are hard. All right. So yeah. And by the way, if you are a former client and you are watching this, I will do my best to try and figure out where your fur came from if you're trying to match furs, or if I still have the fur that I made or that we made whatever from, like, we'll try to arrange to sell it to you if nothing else. But anyway, let's get into this. So sources first, right? So everybody wants to know where you get it from. Etsy's not a bad place. Obviously, people are sketchy sometimes on Etsy, but we sell on Etsy. You can trust us. And other people sell furs. Haven't had a lot of trouble, and Etsy's got good customer support and everything. So if somebody sells you something and it's bad, you have some recourse. Auction sites are good, Dealer's Den, eBay, so on and so forth. Fursuit maker furry groups are good. You can kind of look around. You can ask people, if they just bought a color, or people will post, "Hey, I found this color. It's available here. Go get it." Let's see. There's a live journal fursuit. I think it's just fursuiting.livejournal.com. Can be a good resource. The big box stores, Joann, Hobby Lobby. A lot of their fur is not really good quality, but especially around Halloween, sometimes you can get good quality, and they do, like, especially some of the larger locations will have one or two bolts colors of fur that are pretty good, like that I wouldn't be ashamed to put in a fursuit. Um, let's see. So local fabric and craft stores are also really good. These last two options can be a little pricier because obviously they're paying for a brick and mortar building and their name, or whatever. Where it's a little more expensive than an online wholesaler. So that's the thing you take, but a lot of times too, they'll have a color or a type of fur that maybe you can't find online, so it might be worth it. Um, let's see, where else? Oh, and also, if you go to Joann or Hobby Lobby, Google coupons, because you might be able to actually bring it down to something you'd find online. And never, ever, ever, if you can help it at all, buy from fabric.com, because their prices are super cheap, but they really like, and their shipping is super, super cheap, but they really like to shove your stuff into the smallest box they can, and send it as slow as they can. And by the time it gets here, usually there's three or four holes in the box, and your box is just like your fur is just screwed. Like it's not even a little okay. Sorry, allergies. Um, so search terms are a big thing. Like, by the way, not to sound patronizing, but don't be afraid to use Google for faux fur. Search terms are important though, so make sure you're using the phrase faux fur fabric after your color terms or textures or whatever. Uh, if you don't say fabric, you're going to get stuff that's made from faux fur rather than the actual raw yardage itself. And if you don't say faux, you're going to be looking at pieces of your friendly forest animals. And I don't know about you, but that doesn't do a lot for me. Um, so also keep in mind color terms. So if I search for bright pink, I might get two or three of these colors back here. Or I might get, this back here. You never really know. So maybe you need to search for fuchsia, or maybe you need to search for bubblegum pink, or, all kinds of crazy stuff. There's a lot of potential differences. So, like, kind of have ideas of different color, instead of just dark green, emerald green, forest green. Different terms might get you different furs. Let's see. So, quality and transaction security. Tip number one, big tip: never, ever, ever pay in friends and family mode on PayPal ever. That gives you no buyer protection. If they disappear on you or something, you're doing that remote transaction, you're just out of luck. You've sent your money into a hole, you're not getting it back. And also, never let somebody tell you that you have to pay more for the PayPal fee, because that's actually against PayPal's terms of service. Don't do that to other people. Don't let them do that to you. If they want to compensate for the PayPal service, they just need to charge more. That's all there is to it. So one good thing too, if you're buying from an individual, if you go to somebody who is an online artist or is a maker or something like that, somebody who obviously is invested in maintaining, or hopefully is invested in maintaining, their online reputation, that can be a really good idea, because then they're probably going to be pretty quick to try and get you what you bought, and all that good stuff. Make sure you get a tracking number. Make sure you get, like, before you even pay, ask them, hey, when do you think you'll be able to ship it? When do you think you'll be able to give me a tracking number? Because then you can kind of be like, okay, you said Friday, it's Friday, where's my tracking number? Ask them for that. Let's see. Price points. When you're looking at fur online, whether you're buying from an individual or buying from an online store, be suspicious if it's much less than $20 a yard. You might see this really cool mint green right here, right? And that's a really cool color, and we were so excited to find this. And it was like, I think 17, 18 bucks a yard, and I was like, huh, that's weird, but maybe it's on sale, or maybe they got it cheap. And it said it was luxury shag, which is like what this should be, but it's this really, like, sturdiness wise it's good, but texture wise it's soft, but it's really short and really curly and kind of weird, and doesn't really do much for me as like a fursuit fur type of thing. Probably be better for like a plush type of thing. It doesn't brush out straight. It's really, I don't know if you can see the texture on that. It's really shiny too, so not great. So yeah, be careful. If you can, order swatches. The tip off for me should have been the same supplier was also selling like good luxury fur for $3 or $4 more per yard. And Etsy also, though, with Etsy, sometimes fur listings will say like $8+ a yard, or $8 plus for this, and they'll sell it in like quarter or eighth yards, because they're selling to like photographers and stuff too. So sometimes it may look like, oh man, that's really cheap, that must be like that garbage fun fur, but in fact they're just selling it in really small pieces. Let's see, what else? So yeah, you're looking for a price point of about 20+ a yard, unless it's on sale somehow, but usually wholesalers will have it about as cheap as you're gonna get it. And sometimes, fancier furs will have more, like these spiky colored furs, or like, I don't, you probably can't see it, but like that one has sparkles in it. Those will cost you more. That I got that in Korea, and I have not been able to even find it online. So that's a very unusual fur, but it's kind of like seal fur. It's really neat. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, so definitely if a seller has swatches or if you can contact them and talk to them about what they're selling, like that's an excellent idea. Always, 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 if you're not sure about a color or quality or a fur pile, contact them and see what's going on. And, speaking of colors, like, be aware that there are these things called dye lots. So every time a huge run of fur is made in the factories, usually in China, they're going to put the dye in it, and it's never going to be quite exactly the same. So like you might get the cool royal blue luxury fur from discountfurfabrics.com, and 6 months later say, hey, you know what, I need more because I'm going to make a full suit now using that color and I need more. You might order the exact same thing from the exact same seller and get a slightly different color. That won't perfectly match, and there's not a lot you can do. Sometimes if you go out there and you have a pretty good community to reach out to, you can be like, hey, did anybody else buy this fur at this time? Can I trade you? Can I buy it off of you? And maybe match it up. Honestly, like, I'm not ever going to do that in somebody's fursuit, but if it's your own personal fursuit and you don't mind, most people are not going to notice a dye lot difference between two furs, especially if you don't put them right next to each other. But again, if you're doing this for somebody else, don't be shady. Like, make them match if at all possible, or at least talk to your client and say, hey, I can't make this match. Are you okay with this? Maybe send them a picture of the two right next to each other and be like, this is how different it is or is not. Fair warning. And yeah, that was really long. I could probably talk forever about finding furs and what's good fur and what's bad fur, but that's like the overview, and now you see it's a little more complicated maybe than you'd think. So it's just something you kind of have to work at and do some research and invest some time, and it's not easy, but hopefully this kind of gives you like a structure to work from, and kind of gives you a starting point. Anyway, see you next time. Thanks so much.